You know, when you think about a perfect set of dentures, what comes to mind? Probably the teeth, right? The smile. But it's so much more than that. It's really a custom-engineered prosthetic that has to work perfectly with a person's mouth. And the whole thing, the entire process, it all hinges on one critical first step. Okay, let's get into it.
So really, how do you do that? How do you build a new smile from nothing? I mean, you're creating something that has to fit perfectly in a space that is completely unique to every single person on the planet. A space that moves and changes when we talk, when we chew. It's this incredible challenge, a mix of biology and pure engineering.
Well, the answer is you have to start with an absolutely perfect blueprint. And in the world of dentistry, that blueprint is called an impression. You can think of it as the foundational map, the architectural plan that the entire new smile is going to be built from. Getting this part right, well, it's everything.
Okay, that sounds super technical, right? A negative registration? Let's just break that down. All it really means is that an impression is a perfect negative copy of the patient's mouth. It captures not just the gums where the denture sits, but also all the other important stuff, the parts that offer stability and, this is crucial, the border seal areas. That's what creates the suction that actually holds the denture in place.
And this right here, this quote from our source material, it just nails why that first step is so vital. If that blueprint is flawed, even by a little bit, the whole project is a failure. The final denture might be uncomfortable, it could be unstable, it just won't work. The stakes are incredibly high right from the get-go.
So, making this perfect blueprint, it's not a one-shot deal. The whole thing starts with what you can kind of think of as a first draft, or maybe like a rough pencil sketch of the mouth. This is what's called the primary impression.
Now here's the key thing to understand about this first impression. It's not actually used to make the final denture. Not at all. Its main purpose is to give the dentist enough information to build a tool for the next step. So it's basically a tool to make a better, more precise tool, which is called a custom tray. So how do they make this first draft? Well, the dentist starts by picking a generic, off-the-shelf tray. They call it a stock tray. They have to make sure it's the right size, leaving about 5 millimeters of space all around for the impression material. They double-check that it covers all the important landmarks in the mouth, and if it's a little short, they can actually add some wax to extend the edges. Then they load it up with material and take that very first impression. All right, so the first draft is done. Now it's time to create the masterpiece. We're moving on to the secondary impression. This is where the goal totally shifts to absolute, hair-splitting precision. We're talking about a perfect, refined fit. This is the one. This is the final, high-definition blueprint that's actually going to be used to build the denture. There is zero room for error here. It has to capture every single tiny little detail, every nuance of the mouth's anatomy with the absolute maximum accuracy possible. And the process here is way more sophisticated. First, remember that custom tray we mentioned? It's built specifically for this one patient, using that first impression as the guide. Then comes this really critical technique called border molding to shape the edges of the tray just right. And finally, they use a much more fluid running material to capture all those super fine details in the final impression.
Now, this border molding thing is absolutely fascinating. It's not a static process at all. The dentist actually has the patient move their lips, their cheeks, and their tongue, and those movements actively shape the soft material on the edge of the tray. This creates a map of how the muscles move, which ensures the final denture won't get pushed out of place when the person talks or eats. It's a dynamic capture of the mouth in action, not just a still photograph.
But, just capturing the mouth in motion is only half the battle, because even if you have the perfect technique, there's a bigger question, a whole philosophical debate, really. Which version of the mouth are you actually trying to capture? So, you've got these two big competing ideas. On one side, you have the mucostatic approach. This basically says, let's capture the tissues when they're totally relaxed and passive. Sounds good, right? But on the other side, you've got the mucocompressive approach, which says, no, let's capture the tissues how they are when you're actually biting down, when they're compressed. The problem is, a denture made that way might feel great when you're chewing, but the second you relax, the tissues can rebound and push the denture right out. It's this classic conflict. Do you want a resting fit or a functional fit? So you have these two extremes, right? One fits perfectly when you're doing nothing, but might not work well when you're eating. The other fits great when you're eating, but can be a problem the rest of the time. This conflict, as you can imagine, led people to start searching for a better way, a middle ground.
And this is the brilliant compromise they came up with, the selective pressure technique. The idea here is to be strategic, to be smart about it. The impression applies pressure only on the parts of the jaw that are naturally built to handle stress. Meanwhile, it records all the other, more delicate areas in a totally relaxed state. It's really trying to get the best of both worlds.
Okay, so we have the techniques, we have the philosophies, but what are they actually using to do all this? Let's take a look inside the dentist's toolkit at the specific materials that make these incredible impressions possible.
It really is all about using the right tool for the right job. For that first draft impression, dentists might use something like alginate. It's cheap and gets a decent result, but it's not super stable over time. But for that all-important secondary, final impression, they bring out the high-tech stuff. Things like silicone, which gives you amazing detail and stability, or zinc oxide eugenol, which is so fluid it can capture the absolute finest details without distorting anything.
So when you put this all together, you start to realize that creating a denture impression is so much more than just making a simple mold. It's this really sophisticated blend of material science, a deep understanding of human anatomy, incredibly precise technique, and yeah, even a touch of artistry to get it all just right.
And that pretty much brings us to the end. So the next time you see someone with a really comfortable, natural-looking smile thanks to their dentures, maybe you'll have a new appreciation for the incredible amount of skill and detail that went into that very first step, creating that perfect custom-made blueprint of their smile.